Welcome to the Steaming Pile of Awesome, the podcast where me, Rob, and my good friend Darren watch movies and rate them just in case they're really bad and you don't have to watch them. The movie we're covering today is The Velocipastor. Its runtime is 70 minutes, which is about the same amount of time we used to cover the last movie. So my goal is that we don't do a podcast longer than the actual film itself. And I'm actually not even going to call it a film. I'm going to call it a motion picture for the rest of this because I don't feel it deserves the title of movie or
accolade.
Film. Yeah. I paid $4 on Google Play to watch this movie. So I feel like I really deserve to pull this thing apart. All right, let's get
They followed me home. The Velocipastor. A troubled priest.
How long has it been since your last confession?
Oh, it's been about 2 years. I do drugs, sell drugs, murder people. The Velocipastor. A beautiful girl with a dark past.
Last night was amazing.
What are you talking about?
The time you turned into a dinosaur and ate someone.
What?
Dinosaurs.
You guys talk all the time about helping people. This might actually be the first time in your life you can.
By what? Killing people?
Yes!
Tell me I mean anything to you. Tell me you got better shit to do. Tell me I'm the one disfigured like the match caress that trigger. Show me I mean anything to you. Show me I mean anything to you.
The Velocipastor.
That's insane, Doug. God does not want people dead.
Oh, I think God wants a lot of people dead.
longer and longer. So I decided for this one, we're going to play a little game, Darren. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. We're going to take that Men in Black thing. We're going to thump your memory, okay? You've never seen this movie, okay? You've never seen any parts of this. Exactly. Perfect. Awesome. And we're going to play a little game here called Would You Watch This, okay? I'm going to give you a quick under 2-minute rundown of the script and the movie, and you're going to tell me if that sounds like a thing you'd want to watch. Are you ready to go?
What's the name?
The name is called the Velocipastor.
Then yes, but I will humor you by listening to your explanation.
Sounds good. Oh, you had me at hello. That's right. Before we get started, what are you drinking there? I know I saw you had water, but you had something else there, some ice.
I've got some apple-flavored bourbon.
Ooh, that sounds good. I'm drinking a Canadian classic. I'm having some rye whiskey and some ginger ale, a good old rye and ginger.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my quick breakdown. Would you watch this? I'm just going to read directly from my notes. A priest finishes his sermon, goes outside to find his caring parents when they are blown up by a car explosion, using air quotes there. The priest mourns. Doug the priest leaves for China, where he's given a dragon claw that gives him the powers to become a dinosaur by a female ninja. Meanwhile, back in America, he is staying at Father Stewart's house, but leaves due to an insatiable hunger. That night, he's in the park, and he runs into a hooker named Carol.
Oh, you cool cats and kittens, it's Carol at Big Cat Rescue.
No, not that Carol. A different Carol. And he turns into a dinosaur and kills/eats her attacker. They decide to murder people and eat them if they're bad, and all the bad people that Carol the hooker knows, which is a lot, evidently. Through this, they begin to experience feelings for each other. It leads to a relationship. This is where a secret group of ninjas are shown training. Their mission is revealed to be to kill the Dragon Warrior, which is a way cooler name than this shitty dino costume deserves. At some point, Doug tells Father Stu that he turns into a dinosaur, and Stu decides that he needs an exorcism. This takes us to a scene where the exorcism is taking place. It does not go well and leads to a flashback of Father Stu in Vietnam. The exorcism ends poorly and leads to a T-Rex versus group of ninjas fight. This, of course, leads to a love scene. The love scene is interrupted by more ninjas. The team of Carol and Doug go to China, which looks an awful lot like forests in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, for the final fight, where Doug is successful, but at a great cost. Except it isn't, because Carol is fine. She is fine. And even though they have $1 billion price on their heads, which is roughly the budget for this film, they decide to take the rest of the Holy Ninja Syndicate down and prepare for a sequel that I was sad to find out has already been greenlit to be produced. Darren,
Oh, fantastic.
would you watch this movie?
A third time? Probably.
Oh no. Oh my God, you just openly admitted to watching this thing twice.
In the last 3 days.
I don't know.
So
I
full
don't know.
disclosure, I made it 3/4 of the way through, and then I had something come up, and then I decided that I hadn't given it my full attention the first time.
Was that
And
something
so I
that
watched
came
it
up your
again.
lunch? Because this movie could induce vomiting at some point. So we're just going to kind of give our first impressions of each major character in the show, and kind of maybe something interesting that popped out for us. We'll go into all the details of all the things that happened to these characters in the next segment, but let's just get our first impressions out here. So the first and most important character, the protagonist, Doug the Priest. He's played by Gregory James Cohan. And what did you think of this guy?
In the very beginning, he was very lame, innocent, naive young pastor, and by the end, he has he's got a pair of the cop killer sunglasses, a cigarette over his ear, and a leather jacket. So by the end, I was digging his style. Started off a little bit slow though.
Rode off into the sunset in a Chevelle SS, because he is a bad boy pastor for life.
Yes.
That's awesome, man. Because I wrote, this is the guy you hire if you can't afford Michael C. Hall.
That's very accurate.
Carol, of course, played by Alyssa Kempinski, damsel in distress who isn't really in distress for most of the movie. She's a prostitute who's putting herself through college for pre-med law, which, of course, sets up one of the most important quotes in the movie, which I will revisit later. Darren, what do you think of Carol, played by Alyssa Kempinski?
She was good. She was very believable. She held her own in a lot of the fight scenes. She was actually better than Dolph Lundgren in Masters of the Universe. So I was behind Carol.
How many people with swords defeated him in a battle? Huh? None. How many defeated her? One really tall ninja. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
For some reason.
Yeah. Is at one point she's waiting for Doug, and she's being stood up because he's currently being exercised at the moment. So she checks her watch to see how long he's been making her waiting, but she finds out she's not wearing a watch. It's one of those scenes in movies where it's like, gotta be deliberate, but oh my God. What are you doing? Oh man, turns out I don't in fact have a watch. All right, now we have Father Stewart, played by Daniel Steer, one of the 4 steers that appears in the credits of this movie. Go ahead, man. Tell me a little bit about Father Stewart.
I was behind Father Stewart, the old priest. I was not very behind Stewart or Father Stewart, the Vietnam soldier, who they cleverly disguised by dyeing his mustache yellow and putting a wig under his helmet. It was pretty rough.
And that was not the worst of his costume decisions, because at one point he gets his eyeball ripped out and has to wear an eye patch, yet chooses to wear the eye patch on top of his glasses. He wears his glasses first and then the eye patch. I wrote that this guy looks like he listens to Jimmy Buffett a lot. That's what I wrote.
Yeah, nothing but.
Nothing but. All right. Next, we have a personal favorite of mine, Fernando Pacheco de Castro, playing Frankie Mermaid. Okay. Frankie Mermaid, the prostitute Carol's pimp. Darren, his name is Frankie Mermaid. Why is he called that?
I believe it's because he's swimming in bitches.
That's because he's swimming in bitches. What a line. Oh my God, it's great. We could go into detail of all this later, but I couldn't wait, and I put it in now because I just love this guy so much. So when he's introduced, he's on the street, he's smoking a cigarette, acting all big. He comes across Carol walking her beat, and he bitch slaps her for some unknown reason, and then makes her go to the park. Later in the movie, he's having a confession with Doug the priest. And he basically confesses after talking about throwing a baby into a river or something. He basically expresses to him that he was responsible for the murder of Doug's parents and blowing up the car that had them supposedly in it. And he admits to all of this, which enrages Doug. He grows dino hands, which are just rubber dinosaur gloves that they didn't even bother to attach to his body in any way, shape, or form. They just let him wear dinosaur gloves.
It reminded me of those Hulk smash mitts that you could buy at Walmart a couple years ago. Except in a dinosaur
Dino
claw.
smash.
It was,
those rubber gloves.
They were exceptional.
Those rubber gloves. But not a kid's toy. Those Hulk smash gloves were kids' toys. These are not. They were very sharp because they managed to slit Frankie Mermaid's throat after punching through a screen of confession. And the best part about that is when he's trying to get answers out of Frankie, Doug tells him, tell me what you know. And Frankie says, I don't know nothing. You might as well just kill me now. And Doug's response is, okay. And he does it. He just slits his throat. God. Okay, we're going to revisit him later, but I just had to get all that out now. I couldn't wait. I had to. He is a shining light in an otherwise dull, disgusting, horrible abyss of a movie. Master Wei Chen is next, and his henchman, who's unnamed at the beginning of the movie. So I basically said, have you ever been to a Wendy's, Darren? A Wendy's burger joint?
Yeah.
So the titular character of Wendy. I basically said this guy, Wei Chen's right-hand man looks like if Wendy was a boy. So I called him Wendo in my notes for the rest of the movie. This guy is
I like the nickname.
Special. Yeah. Oh, Wendo. I'm going to call him Wendo the whole time. So in case you're wondering, that's who he is. And of course, Master Wei Chen. Everybody Wei Chen tonight. That guy, he's the big bad, if you will. So what did you think of these two guys?
They were very good, aloof bad guys. Their plan was flawed in a lot of ways. Their acting was god awful at best. They were just.
Although Wei Chen did talk in 2 different languages, so he's got to give him credit for that. I speak only 2 languages, English and bad English. So that's Yeah,
they were good characters. They didn't have a lot of time to develop. The development
in 70
Wendo,
minutes, they didn't have enough time.
The development of Wendo at the end of the movie was pretty put together.
It was something.
It was pretty cut and paste.
We are going to discuss this turn at the end of the movie for years, you and me, because it's just absolutely mind-boggling. And then, of course, we've got the failed street magician turned exorcist, Altair the Exorcist, played by Aurelio Voltaire. What did you think of this guy, Darren? Or is he even worth talking about because he's only in the movie 5 minutes?
He's in there for 5 minutes. I thought he was actually one of the better cast characters. He did a very good Chris Angel kind of look. Was
that a performance or strictly the mascara? Because he had mascara on. That does it. That's enough.
He was a different character. He was well placed, but unfortunately his reign in the movie was short.
Okay. All right. So to start things off here, we're going to start talking about some of the things that in the movie that stood out to me as moments that, if you're going to watch this movie, these are the things to look for. So the very first one I want you to take over. I want you to talk about the scene at the very beginning of the movie, within the first 5 minutes, setting the stage for the whole movie to come. Some people think that the hook at the beginning of the movie is like the most important thing you're going to see because it gets people to either buy in or not. And we have a moment where Doug the priest finishes a sermon, goes outside to meet his parents, waves at them, they wave back, and then his parents are brutally murdered in a car bomb. And I'm going to let you take this from here. Go ahead. Explain this whole thing for me. Lay it all out.
Yeah, all right. So Doug finishes the sermon and he heads out of the building. I thought this was particularly bad acting on his part, where he's looking off to one side and then kind of looks over and hesitates for a second. Oh, Mom and Dad. It was
For
pretty
people
robotic.
at home, that's literally as good as the guy in the movie did.
Oh, thank you.
That was exactly how he did.
So at that point, the parents do an equally bad job of turning around and noticing Doug. They give him a quick wave. Doug takes a couple steps down, and then there's an explosion. He gets rocked back. And this is where I realized what kind of movie that I was in store for, because instead of a car on fire after the explosion, it's a shot of the exact same where the car and the parents were, but now there's absolutely nothing in the scene except for the backdrop and just the words that say video effects here, car on fire. And then it goes back and forth between Doug and the non-existent car on fire. And I have to admit, like, I was hooked. I knew I was in for a really, really fun ride at that point. I laughed. I laughed pretty good. They got me. Yeah, and that was. I knew I was going to watch this at least twice.
If you don't know what kind of movie this is going to be after that scene, it did not steer you in the wrong direction. There was no swerve there. They had the audacity to cut back to the not there visual effect, obviously due to budget constraints. They cut back to it 4 times. That's the kind of movie we're dealing with.
And this brought a question up in my mind. Was, I'm assuming it's budget constraints, that you can't just blow up a car and have it on fire. But
sure,
how much does it cost to set a car on fire?
Well, you have to have a car first.
Well, I mean, you're talking about spending a couple $100s on a car, maybe, or just getting one from a wrecker and then setting it on fire. Now, I imagine there's permits you have to pull and hire the fire department and stuff like that. But we're probably talking about maybe like $10,000-$15,000 is my guess.
I couldn't even expect that.
Well worth it to
if
have
it's practical,
a car on fire. Yeah. I think it was deliberate. I think they deliberately didn't reach out and try and set a car on fire just to really get people to understand, like, hey, you're not going to see anything good here.
Set your expectations on this, please.
Yeah, exactly.
You make a good point, man. We both agree it's deliberate, but you're definitely making a strong point that it's not only deliberate, it's something that they wanted to really bring home, that the rest of the movie's going to be like this. Doug is looking at a branch deep in the woods of China when he stumbles upon this lady, and he says something in the movie, and I had to rewind it 3 times because I couldn't figure out what he said because it made no sense and I didn't know what he was trying to say. And at one point I was like, okay, enough's enough. I rewound it a little longer and turned the subtitles on, which I absolutely do not regret one bit. Watching the subtitles in this movie, especially for the scenes that have music in them, the lyrics are on the screen, and oh my goodness, I just do not regret that decision at all. Do you know what line he says there?
I gotta correct you a bit. The second time I watched it, I think he was actually holding a compass.
Oh,
not that it makes any more sense. But he turns.
Oh no, it does actually.
He turns but he turns to a specific direction, and he looks down at it. And he goes, "China is east."
China is east.
Now, what I think they were trying to get at is he pointed his compass back towards the United States, which would have showed west. And then he would have realized that China is in fact east. My only concern is that why would he know which direction the United States is in? He has no frame of reference.
No.
So China is east made no sense.
No, it makes no sense. But I love the line because it forced me to turn on the subtitles, which greatly improved my experience with this.
Oh,
all right,
agreed.
so we fast forward a little bit. The insatiable hunger that I mentioned in the opening dialogue. He's out stumbling around and he ends up in the park. And this is where the first transformation begins. So go ahead, take it from here. The first transformation into the Velocipastor. Go for it.
All right. So basically what we have is Doug stumbles upon Carol and a would-be mugger in the park. He is about to possibly murder her. He says he's going to, but I don't know. She doesn't really seem concerned at all with the dialogue.
She's not worried.
And the would-be mugger gets sideswiped. We see a couple of quick flashes of the claw, the mugger on the ground. He runs out of bullets. And then we see what I described as the lowest possible budget cousin of Mega Munch, who is of course, the display of our local museum.
Yes.
That was massively intimidating when I was 6. And not so intimidating as an adult.
So much.
So
our museum here has a animatronic T-Rex in the wall. Yes.
Yeah.
Named Mega Munch.
And Mega Munch.
Oh,
so
this thing was so much worse than Mega Munch.
Mega Disappointment makes his first entrance.
Yes, Mega Disappointment. I described it as dino potato. It looks like a giant paper mache potato.
It's a slightly less intimidating green Barney.
Yes. Oh, you thought it was green. Yeah. See, I thought it was brown. Like a gray brown.
It was like greenish brown. I don't know.
Olive? Sure.
Either way.
I
it was very Barney-esque.
Yeah. Yeah. Barney just wanted to hug you. I didn't expect Jurassic Park with this movie. Like, it really set the stage with the visual effects cue earlier, but even though I didn't expect Jurassic Park, I kind of was at least kind of thinking maybe their main source of the material for the whole movie wouldn't have its eyeballs painted on, and even if it was painted on, they wouldn't be crooked, because like they were like so crooked. It looked like it was like cross-eyed. Oh my
God. I didn't look into this, but can you confirm whether or not the same makeup artist or same costume designer was used on the set of The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot?
I did notice that there was a makeup specialist for this movie. I did not cross-reference those names, but
well, I highly doubt it, but something to look into.
I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I actually preferred the Bigfoot to this thing.
Bigfoot was better.
I think it wins. Oh my God, I feel so dirty. Okay, let's keep moving on. So Doug chews on this guy and murders him and eats probably part of him. And he wakes up the next morning completely unaware of his actions, but he wakes up in Carol's bed. So the dialogue between the two is actually quite cleverly written, where Doug feels that he may have been amorous with this young lady because he wakes up naked in a foreign bed, and she says that last night was really weird for her. So they go back and forth, and there's this innuendo that he feels they may have slept together, whereas she's strictly talking about the fact that he turned into a dinosaur and ate someone. They do this like great push into his face where he goes, "What?" And he has nothing to wear because he must have shredded his clothes turning into the potato dino. But he asks her if she has anything he can wear, because they're going to leave. So she's going to prove to him that this is something that he actually did by showing him the body. So he has nothing to wear except for his white Converse sneakers that he has on. And he asks her, "Do you have anything that I can wear?" Assuming that it's probably like a boy's outfit from some other previous escapade of hers. She says, "Yeah, absolutely. I do have something you can wear." And she gives him what, Darren? What does she give him? Go ahead.
a sweater dress is the best way I can describe this.
Yes.
Like it's either a very long sweater or a very short dress,
Short dress.
and no pants,
No
pants whatsoever. Not even a pair of like leggings or like
High
tights,
socks.
sweatpants. I assume she might have.
Touch not thy sinning hands,
Stop
Jezebel!
it! You saved me! You saved me! My life, all of it! Do you know what he would have done to me? This is the most priestly thing that you've ever done!
He is hanging Wang in an orange knit V-neck dress. That is what he's wearing. That is what she chose to give him. Where they have this big dramatic scene after wearing this orange knit V-neck sweater thing. I feel like it was a real missed opportunity, Darren, that she didn't wear that later in the movie, because I thought that would just be absolutely great.
Yeah.
But maybe he just stretched it out too much. I don't know.
Maybe they're saving it for the sequel.
Right on. So, God, you reminded me that there's going to be one. All right, so they decide to go their separate ways because he's a little freaked out. But later, of course, he murders my man, Frankie Mermaid, and decides at that point, like, let's make a go of this. So he gets back together with Carol, and they decide to join a team and take out these bad guys. In order to do that, of course, he's got to train. So why don't you take us through his training montage? Go ahead.
It looks like they videotaped him doing what they thought might be what a CrossFit workout looks like.
Yes, yes.
It was not a CrossFit workout, I can tell you that. But it was a layman's outside view of what a CrossFit a CrossFit workout might look like.
Well, there were kettlebells involved. I mean, that's got to be a CrossFit.
Yeah. I don't think that's the way. Actually, I know that's not the way it works.
Okay.
There's also some nuance of Doug teaching Carol about the Bible. One of the books that he's trying to get her to read is I believe it's People of the Bible. And
People of the Bible.
Yeah,
it wasn't
so
like the
characters
Notes version of it.
I think that's what it was. So
okay.
so it's him teaching her about God and Christianity, and then also him training to turn into a dinosaur harder. I don't understand why he in his human form would
needs to be
any
in
better
peak
as
physical
a dinosaur.
Condition. Yes, absolutely.
It didn't make the training montage didn't make any sense.
It does not really track. And in one of the I referred to it as like the Brady Bunch kind of thing, where they have multiple screenshots at the same time.
Yeah.
And they have these like split screens, and like you said, some of them are him training and lifting kettlebells in his green short shorts, and then the other ones he's teaching her the Bible. And in even other ones, he's like turning into a dinosaur in broad daylight and munching down on some random dude's leg. So all of these things are happening at once. It was a very interesting.
I believe
scene.
they're also starting to fall in love at the same time in some of those cutscenes.
Yes. In fact, by the end of these cutscenes, I believe that Father Doug, may have a hooker girlfriend at the very end, because he puts his arm around her as they kind of fade up into the tree line.
In the very old patented puts his arm
there's some
around
hesitation
her on the
there
bench with a fake yawn. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good for Doug.
Doug's got some game. Hey, she was digging it. That's all that matters. All right. So the next part is kind of like a little bit out of the timeline. So I wanted to like kind of you have to skip around a little bit for this one, I think. So when the big bad guys are introduced early on, they share Wei Chun and his number one. They share this evil laugh together. So
Mhm.
Wendo and the Master share this evil laugh together, which goes surprisingly long. It's like
40
the best way to
seconds.
explain it. 40 seconds. We
40
discussed
seconds
earlier,
of the two of them just laughing.
just laughing, and it's very Austin Powers it's very like the Austin Powers scene where they're all just laughing and keep each other laughing for 40 straight seconds, which is about 1%, 1/100th of the total runtime here of the movie. And Wendo starts off laughing, and I think by the end he's like painfully laughing. He's like really suffering here, and he really wanted us to like know that like he does not enjoy laughter. He's doing it because he has to, but he is not enjoying it. He's kind of getting like laughter raped by his boss. Don't you think?
For 35 seconds, it's uncomfortable.
Oh, very, very. Later, he reveals later in the movie, and this is where I'm jumping ahead, of course, but I think it's important that we do just for this one. Later, this Wendo is revealed to be Doug's brother Sam. So even though his dad, in a previous flashback, said to Doug explicitly, "Doug, I love you because you're my only son." Later, the same flashback happens again, except the camera pans over to show that Sam is also there too. He's just, oh wait, that's different. That's different. Hold on. Oh, God. Yeah. No, there's like a dinner table scene where they just pan the camera over and he's sitting at the table while they're saying he's his only son. And then later there's a scene where they do the Spider-Man great power, great responsibility thing where they're all in a car that's bathed in white light and they're saying goodbye to him and he's going off to preschool or whatever. And yeah, sure enough, Sam pokes his head up out of the back seat of the station wagon in one of the best scenes I've ever seen.
So he's actually not in the
back
seat. He's not in the back seat. If you're familiar with station wagons, there's the two front seats, there's the back seat, and then there's the hatch. So it's Doug and his dad in the front seat, his mom in the back seat, and then his brother's in the hatch. Doesn't have a seatbelt and just comes over top of the hatch. He's like,
wait a second.
Wait, I'm his son.
I'm his son too.
They could have written him in as the stepbrother, and it would have been A-okay.
Absolutely.
But for whatever reason.
Yeah. Or like something where like he came along later, or like he was always trying to fight for attention and they just didn't dig it. Yeah, something. But like they
didn't have it.
Literally just ignored him for his entire life. Yeah. So I can totally see why he went arch. Like that would make anybody go bad. So at the end of the movie, Doug kills his brother Sam in the final fight. So what he does to kill him is he uses the Force to pull the sword away from Sam that Sam brought to the fight, which is just a shot of the character of Doug throwing the sword, and then they just played it backwards.
Shot in reverse. Yeah.
Right, shot in reverse. And then he stabs his own brother to death in cold blood, who's unarmed. He's completely unarmed in the final fight, and he is murdered by our hero, like all good protagonists in movies do.
Priest. All good priest.
Oh, and yes.
Let's forget he hasn't given up the clergy just yet.
No, he has not. All right, so we fast forward down the line to probably the most interesting and infamous scene in the entire movie, and I want you to break this thing down for me, Darren. This one's your baby. This one's all yours. I'll throw in my 2 cents at the end, but We get a little bit of Father Stu's background during the exorcism, where we actually get to experience a Vietnam flashback. So go ahead, talk us through this absolute gem of a scene.
So first thing we notice about the Vietnam flashback is that the forest or jungle that they're in looks an awful lot like both the park in Pennsylvania and exactly like the forest in China that we've already been to.
Very similar set choices. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, very similar. I think you could actually see the same hut in the background. So it's his army buddy Allie who's talking to him, and he goes through a list of characters that have already died that they've known, and they all have amazing nicknames. Like one of them is something the Invincible, which he's dead, so obviously not the greatest nickname.
That's like calling a big guy tiny.
Yeah. So they stop. They're talking, and Allie asks Father Stu, not Father Stu, but Stu, what his plan is, or if he's got a girl back home. So he shows a picture of his girl back home. Allie verifies that she is in fact a babe, and
a
they
47-year-old
Allie asks,
babe. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Allie tells him, he's like, you're going to have a whole bunch of kids. You're going to have 5 kids. No, wait. 11. Why we went from 5 to 11, I have no idea. 5's a lot. 7 would be a little bit too much.
7?
So he's going to have 11 kids with his girlfriend, Adelaide, who, and when they name their kids, they're going to name one of them. Allie tells him that he should name one of them Allie, after his friend Allie from the war, who smiled just like this. And he smiles. He's like, and you look at him, and Allie, who never got a scratch in Vietnam, and he goes on, and as he's smiling at Stu, his chest explodes from a bullet. Only one shot fired. Only one before, during, and after. Just the one gets Allie through the heart. He's dead as a doornail. So we fast forward a little bit in Vietnam, a day or two, and Stu is sitting on a bench, and he's writing a note to Allie's parents, and he writes, "Dear Allie's mom and dad, I regret to inform you, ... He doesn't even finish the letter. I don't know why they put 3 dots behind it. Was that what he was going to send to the parents? Like, signed Stu. But before he can finish it, he hears the sweet call of a female voice, and it's his name.
Yes.
And he looks up, and there's Adelaide, who apparently has teleported to the Vietnam jungle and is now there right in front of him. So Stu, not concerned about, checking the perimeter or anything going on, just sees Adelaide. He's going to start that family that he's always wanted to. And he stands up, doesn't even take 2 steps forward, which is important. Right. And Adelaide comes running over. She gets literally 3 steps away from him and explodes into what can only be described as shark chum all over Stu. So he's covered from eyebrow to toe in Adelaide. And there's an arm on the ground, and that is it. That is all that remains of Adelaide. 2 characters come over, and one looks down and he says, I don't think there's anything we can do for her. She's too far gone.
She's too far gone.
She's literally Jello at this point. There's obviously nothing that anybody's going to do. And the other one goes, what was she even doing in the jungle? And the first one replies, I don't know. Maybe she was trying to start a family. Tear. Heart-wrenching scene.
That's when you know.
And, and Father Stu. And Father Stu, we go back to when he gets back to America, but he's still young. And he decides to head back to the clergy, and that's when he becomes Father Stu.
And yes, he becomes Father Stu because of this stuff that happened to him in Vietnam. Yeah, when Allie tells him to have 11 kids, he also tells him to spend 15 minutes with each of them, which every day. 15 whole minutes. Oh, and then he gloats about never being shot and then is immediately shot.
Yeah.
You didn't mention that when he's dying in Stu's arms, he's just puffing away on a cigarette.
Yes. Well, that's just air escaping from him.
Right. He was dead long ago.
Yeah.
That was just the death rattle.
Yeah.
All right. So we fast forward from there. The exorcism doesn't go well, and we get to see, finally, we get to see the evil plan of the bad guys. So the ninjas are revealed to be they're actually holy ninjas. They're working for the church, which is a big reveal at about the what could be maybe the end of the second act, where these three ninjas ambush our heroes right after a sex scene, and they're caught in their gitch. So they fight off these three ninjas pretty easily, and it's revealed that, of course, they're holy ninjas. This is when Father Stu wakes up after being kidnapped by Wang Chung, who shows him that they are working on Spider's Kiss cocaine, which is 4 times more addicting than regular old Rick James cocaine.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Their whole plan is to, number one, get people addicted to the mega cocaine, and then they cut it off so they have nowhere to go. Once they've got it cut off, these people have to seek self-help through groups run by the church, and they're going to get them off the cocaine and hooked on Jesus, and that'll help improve the church's overall attendance. Is this plan foolproof, or is this plan foolproof?
I have no comment on how offensive and stupid this plan is. I'm not a practicing Catholic, but wow.
Yes. I'm in no place, as I am not a religious person either, to judge either way, but I can totally see some people getting a little offended by this plan being expressed. I personally just was happy at this point in the movie that they actually had thought out a plan that the bad guys had. So to me, that was a win.
I do have one thing about this scene, because so Father Stewart gets his eye plucked out by the dinosaur immediately following the seance. That's how Doug busts out of there.
Yes.
He wakes up. He's got an eye patch on. He's been out for what we assume is a couple days at least, because that's how these things happen in movies. So they literally somehow got Father Stu away from the seance, took him in, healed him, patched his eye, and then literally after telling him their evil plot, they stab him. So they just for absolutely no reason, they went through all of this work just to stab him, kill him, and reveal the plot. It was very convenient for us as a viewer.
Oh God! Thank goodness we were there to witness it all.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, in their defense, I think they wanted him on their side, and when he showed any resistance at all, they referred to him as an infidel and then murderized him. So I'm thinking they maybe wanted him on board, and then when they realized after talking to him for 5 seconds, there's no way they could convince him, maybe that was when they took him out.
Yeah, give the guy a chance to at least be like, well, let me think about it.
What's the number one thing
before
a bad
putting
guy
steel
does?
through his gut?
What's the number one thing a bad guy does in
people,
movies, though? Yeah, he kills people. But they tell them their evil plan, and then they think they're going to kill him, and then it always comes back to bite him. This guy gets away with this, so maybe he's ahead of some. So shortly after the underwear fight, there's a line of dialogue that says, "Good thing that ninja told us where the secret hideout was before he died." That's in the movie. I didn't make that up. Doug and Carol get dressed, and they head to the secret Chinese base where they're attacked. And Carol handles the ninjas while Doug takes on Sam. As I explained before, Sam is killed by Doug by his own sword. Meanwhile, Carol is taking care of all the ninjas, no problem. And I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, so Carol, the hooker doctor lawyer, as she describes herself, is fighting off no less than 5 ninjas without any difficulty whatsoever.
And only armed with a cat suit. That's all she's got.
Yeah.
No weapons, just a black cat suit.
Just a very interesting choice of fighting ninjas in. So she finishes off a bunch of ninjas, and then one really tall ninja comes out, and everybody stops, waits for it. Doug is literally celebrating murdering his own brother in cold blood.
Yes.
For way too long. Yeah.
Free to help her at this point and has
absolutely.
a weapon. Yes.
So
okay, that's
Big
important.
Ninja comes out, reaches behind his back, pulls out a sword, and literally just walks up, slashes her, and Carol is what we assume to be dead.
Yes.
Doug loses his
Dying.
marbles. Yeah. And Doug loses his marbles. He faces off against 5 ninjas. There is a brief pause. One ninja actually looks down and checks his watch as Doug he's waiting for Doug to complete his sentence.
I believe in a higher power, but praying right now will never save.
And Doug Hulk rages into the dinosaur. And then what we have is a fight scene that I can best describe as if the director hired a kid's birthday party, dressed up all the children as little ninjas wearing black masks and ninja outfits.
Yes.
And had the kids pretend to be fighting a guy dressed in a party costume that kind of looked like a dinosaur. That would be the result of this scene. At one point, I actually saw one of the ninjas jump on his tail.
Yes.
Just the most amazing attack on a dinosaur thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
Just take that tail.
Yeah.
Was that before or after the hand comes out of the dinosaur's mouth?
Comes out of his mouth and grabs
his arm and pulls the ninja's arm
rips
off?
it off.
Was it before or after that?
I think it was just before that. Yeah.
This is all in this movie.
It was definitely before the dinosaur bites the guy's head and you hear a crunching and you expect that a headless ninja is going to come out.
Yes.
But there's not even blood.
No.
Like he just rolls away and he's like, oh.
I think there was blood sprayed onto a tent or something, maybe. There was some tent blood. Yeah, maybe not.
There was. Yeah.
So he ends up taking out all these 6 ninjas, but then he's shot in the leg by an arrow from an unknown assailant. It turns out it is the big bad guy, Wei Chen, who shoots him with an anti-venom that he had prepared to take out the dragon warrior. It turns him back into a human, and we get the one of the last lines of the movie is where Wei Chen walks over to him and says, "Any last words, Velocipastor," which is the first and only mention of this title of the movie that happens at 64 minutes in a 70-minute long movie. And Doug says, "Yeah, I got 6 words. I think my hand is immune." And he rips the bad guy's head off with his dragon hands, or Velocipastor hands, or whatever. I give up. I don't even care. Which then they replace. I do have one kind of one point on that as well. Yeah, sure.
He says, "I think my hand is immune."
Yes.
And literally reaches up both of his hands and
2 hands.
pulls off his head. Pulls off his head.
Pulls his head clean off.
Finish him. Sub-Zero win.
There's no reason for him to say hand is instead of hands are. It's still 2 words. He could have said,
6.
"I think my hands are immune." Had the same amount of words, used both hands. It just made no sense. And just to touch a point on the head of Wei Chen is just it's a mannequin head. It's very obviously a mannequin head.
Very obvious. And it's not trying to be anything else.
From the back, it looks like a mannequin head could possibly be a human head,
Yeah.
but probably a mannequin head.
It
But for
was
some reason,
okay.
he turns it around,
Yes.
where it's just very obviously a mannequin head, and has like spiky eyebrows like the character had.
Eyebrow fur.
And then
Yeah.
they throw it on the ground to where they zoom in on it again, just to make
Again?
sure, in case anybody missed it, it is a mannequin. No Wei Chuns were heard in the making of this scene.
No, he was fine, folks. He was just fine.
He was okay.
My God. That
Yeah.
and yeah, like you said, the pure gall to zoom in on it, turn it around, and zoom on it again, and that is it. That is the end of the movie. There's a quote from Gandhi about the elimination of violence and causing world peace, and that is the end of the film, right?
Nope.
No, they cut back
you
from
have
that
this
fade to black.
Yeah, he goes, oh, Carol, and then runs over. And then we fast forward to a scene in a hospital.
Yes.
Which isn't a hospital. It's very obviously just a medical clinic.
Yes.
The doctor comes into the room, and the doctor the entire time looks like he's trying not to laugh. It's actually really comical because he walks in and he's fighting not to laugh. He sits down next to, and he's wearing one of those like miner lights with like the flashlight on the head.
Yes.
And he sits down next to Doug, and when he sits down, it literally turns into a blindfold, and he starts laughing again, and then lifts it up, and he's like, "Well, we fixed your girlfriend." And then
she's fine.
Doug goes and talks to Carol for a minute, and then we fast forward yet again to where it's revealed that there's $1 billion bounty on Doug's head, but they're going to try and find this gang anyway, and the end. Get ready for Velocipastor 2.
Yes, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
Darren, who's your favorite character in this? That is the movie, guys. That is probably as long as the movie.
I gotta give it to Carol. I think she was by far the best actress in the movie. She held her own in a very unbelievable set of fight scenes with ninjas. I thought she did okay. It was she was comical, she was real, and she really won me over in the fight scene with that cat suit.
It is an absolute shame that in a movie full of people who don't know what they're doing, she actually looked like she did. Mine goes to the man himself, Frankie Mermaid. He was only in the movie for maybe 5 minutes of runtime, but Frankie Mermaid absolutely stole the show for me. He made the movie fun. The actor who plays him did a fantastic job, and for me, the reason why I voted for him was because every single thing in this movie that actually made sense and needed a plot to be driven forward, it was all around Frankie Mermaid. He blew up the parents. He was the inciting incident to cause Doug to realize he could not avoid the raptor fate. And every single plot point in the whole movie that gets it going somewhere is Frankie Mermaid, man. And on top of that, he is, according to him, swimming in bitches.
He was very good. He was a good catalyst character. He was well over the top for what a pimp actually is. I'm sure.
I was going to say, please, we have time. If you want to go through how you know that, please continue. But you're like, I've read in books.
I heard
all right,
on
man.
the radio.
Your favorite quote of these 5, Darren. Are you ready?
I am.
The first one is by Carol herself, where she is explaining her plight in life at the moment of meeting Doug. And she says, believe it or not, there's a surprisingly low demand for hooker doctor lawyers. That is a great line.
That is a good one. That would have been in my top 5 as well.
Good. This one comes a little later once they've decided to work as a team together and destroy all the evil that exists in whatever town this is. Carol, this is a 2-part quote. Carol says, I don't know much about God. And then the reply from Doug is, okay, I don't know much about dinosaurs. So that's quote number 2. Of course, the line you dropped earlier at the very end of at the 39-minute mark, at the very end of the flashback to Vietnam, random soldier number 1 says, "I don't think we can do anything for her. She's too far gone." That is number 3. I think I know where you're going already with this one. When the ninjas are sent to assassinate the potato dino, they send their best, which is like 3 ninja mercenaries. And one of them has like a thick Australian accent. I'm not going to get through this. Like, I can't do it. And he's planning this attack while one unknown soldier isn't even paying attention. He's just daydreaming about his girlfriend, who I think is the girl from the beginning, but I'm not sure. And while he's daydreaming about his girlfriend, the Australian ninja says, "You're gonna attack from the top because I'm pretty sure dinosaurs can't look up." I'm so sorry.
Super
that
good.
Australian accent. I can't even do it.
He does start off the whole
scene
scene when they stumble across Doug. He immediately establishes Australianness by going, "Crikey!"
Crikey, it's the Dragon Warrior.
Oh, crikey!
Just for some reason,
this Australian ninja steals the scene. And then, of course, number 5 isn't even really a quote, but it's something we didn't even discuss that I feel absolutely deserves to be discussed. The very opening title card in the entire movie is rated X by an all-Christian jury. That was the first thing we read in this movie, The Velocipastor. All right, you got to pick out of those 5, buddy.
I think I have to go with there's not a lot we can do for her. She's too far gone, mostly because the first time I saw this, I literally burst out laughing when Adeline blew up, because it was as if somebody just threw a bucket of chum onto father. And I was already laughing. And then those 2 idiots came up and just laid some of the dumbest lines I've ever heard.
They put the sprinkles on the ice cream for you.
Whew, that one got me. Yeah. There's not a lot we can do for it. There was literally like a pile of Adeline Jello and 1 arm.
Yes.
And I don't know what anybody would have thought going in, that they might be able to do something, but
he was not wrong.
She was too far gone.
Yeah.
No, she was too far gone. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I did find out that there's roughly an alleged $35,000 budget for this movie. They did well. For $35,000. I can see why they didn't have that one visual effect. It would have doubled their budget. But it was privately funded after it failed not 1, but 2 crowdfunding attempts. After that $35,000 budget, though, they made the movie. And I noticed that there was in the credits there was a caterer for this movie. So even though they had such a small budget, they managed to afford a caterer, which is great.
Frankie's got to eat.
Frankie's got to eat. He does have to eat. Okay, so the critics' rating for this on Rotten Tomatoes is a 54% from critic response. And that's 13 reviews, which isn't a lot, but it's more than I expected, with a 69% audience response. 54 and 69, Darren. Are those numbers where you think they would be, or do you think they were higher? I thought those were ridiculously high for what I was expecting.
I think what you have to take into consideration is what we found out in the first 30 seconds of the movie, that this movie was absolutely slapped together as just a fun 70 minutes of no storyline, no real effects, nothing to it, just a lot of fun, a lot of jokes on an extremely low budget. So I think that's probably true, or probably pretty accurate. I would have rated it fairly high. It was enjoyable. It was entertainment. It melted my brain for 70 minutes.
It was like, peace, I'm out of here. So just to compare that 54-69, Justice League, not to pick on DC, but I kind of have to. Justice League received a 40% and a 71%. So audiences scored those two movies the same, and this movie actually beats Justice League.
I think if you give Velocipastor a $200 million budget, it probably puts out a better movie than it did.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Suicide Squad earned a 27 and a 59, which means that this movie beats it in both critic and audience scores. And I had to do it. The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot scored a 76 and a 51. So even though critics liked The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot more, audiences would prefer this movie. What do you say? Which one would you prefer? Yeah.
I think I enjoyed this one a little bit more. The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot kind of dragged on a little bit for me, whereas this one just kind of kept giving for 70 minutes.
Fair enough. See, I'm on the other side. I just preferred the performances in Hitler and the Bigfoot more than the performances in this one. I know it's schlock and garbage, and it looks like a college final exam, but for art school. But I totally understand what you're saying. I totally get it.
Yeah.
So the last thing I wanted to bring to your attention before we discuss whether or not we liked it is Joey Coe of Wicked Horror magazine, which is basically one of the people who rated this movie on Rotten Tomatoes, gave it an 8 out of 10 and was quoted saying, and this was not sarcastically, he said, "This is one of the best horror movies of the year," being 2018. Other horror movies released that year at that time were Hereditary, the Suspiria remake, Annihilation, which some people would say is sci-fi, but there's some pretty cool horror moments in it. The Screaming Bear, for one. The movie The Nun came out that year. Overlord, the zombie Nazi movie. The Strangers, Slender Man, The Meg, Bird Box, and get this one, Darren. The reason why I'm even talking about this, Nicolas Cage's Mandy. Have you heard of this movie?
No.
Darren, this is one we have to watch on this podcast.
I think if you appreciate a good laugh and you're not taking movies too seriously and not looking to really get a lot out of it in terms of like depth or value, it's a good little ride. It's fun. It's fun to laugh at. I don't think they try to be serious. I think they really own the fact that they were working on a $35,000 budget. And I definitely think it's worth watching. I myself have Amazon Prime, so I was able to watch this movie for free. And
look at you.
Yeah, exactly. So it was definitely worth the free 2 watches. I know yourself, you had to pay $4 to watch it on Google Play.
$4 whole dollars.
I think it's $4 well spent. I think there's a lot worse things that you can spend your $4 on, and I am actually looking forward to see what they do with the sequel. If they can grab a little bit of a budget and actually have a burning car, man, that's just even so much better.
Do not make me watch that one too, please.
Oh, I'm looking for the release date. Don't worry.
My final thoughts are this is 70 minutes of pure shit. Some parts were enjoyable shit, but it was shit. If you want a movie like this that you can enjoy, watch Kung Pao. That movie doesn't take itself seriously, and the jokes keep coming. If you want a monster movie that's bad but also kind of good, watch Wolf Cop. This is not Wolf Cop. It's not even at its level. In fact, at the time of watching Wolf Cop, I felt like it was kind of lacking. Whereas with this movie allowed me to appreciate Wolf Cop a whole lot better. So for me personally, I would say this is the first time so far that we're split on this. You say watch it, yeah. I say don't bother. The only exception, of course, is if you live in a place like we do here in Canada, where weed is legal, and if weed is legal and you have a bunch of buddies who want to get high and watch a bad movie, then by all means, this might be one you guys can choose. But unless you're in that situation and that's something you go for, I say, I think we did a good enough job. You don't need to watch it. And I want that $4.
I think the other option is, if you and a buddy are thinking of starting a podcast based on really crappy movies, well, piss off, because that's already taken.
That's our thing.
Don't take our niche.
It's our thing. See, I kind of hoped that wasn't our niche. I wanted good movies that just needed a little more from a steaming pile into the... I wanted more awesome...
All this needed was a burning car, and it would have been better than Wolf Cop.
Fine. fine, you win. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sticking this out with us. Once again, this is my good friend Darren. My name is Rob, and this is the Steaming Pile of Awesome. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe here, and we will be back with another one of these where we tear apart another movie real soon. Take care. Bye, Darren.
Thank you. Bye.
At the far end of the universe, there is a planet ruled by a being of utter evil. And there is only one man who dares challenge him. They are locked in a battle to the death. A battle that will take them across the heavens.
Stop him!
A battle that will finally be fought.
I want them hunted down and brought to me!
Across the face.
Police! Nobody move!
Of Earth.
I think I'm gonna need some backup.
Can you show us the way?
Of course.
No.
Somebody help me!
From a distant galaxy, they have come to Earth. Dolph Lundgren as He-Man, Frank Langella as Skeletor. Only they have the powers to be masters of the universe. Live the adventure.